sweat about his spot in Europe Grandmasters.
I'm telling you, if he makes that top 8, Falcon's gonna be like, no, not like this. Come on, this is unreal. But our second match is coming up now. Jarla taking on taking on Pavel in this one. I have Kalento's deck list here. That's weird.
Yeah, that's not Tice.
That's just a huge error from me. Jarla versus Pavel is our next one that's coming up right here. Below you can see the pick and ban phase that took place. That Divine Shield around a class means it was ineligible to be banned. So apparently I just don't have his deck list here with me. I don't know how that happened. Jarla has got Combo Priest, Holy Wrath Paladin, Quest Druid, and Quest Shaman. And on Pavel's side, he's continued to bring the Reno Mage. And it's not banned out in this series. And I think that when you look at Jarla's side, it makes a lot of sense. The Reno Mage, I feel like, has one matchup that I'm particularly looking at, which is versus Priest, where a lot of players have thought that to be Mage favored. And so far, the statistics in Grandmasters have held that true.
Yeah, absolutely so. It's been one of the most successful decks in fighting against Priest in the format. It is a small sample size, though, like nothing in comparison to what you'll see, matchup win rates on stat aggregation sites, etc. But it has been one of the most successful decks in the format. Highlander decks, in general, have performed above the level that's represented by how often they're brought. Highlander Hunter and Highlander Mage have relatively small sample sizes in the format, but are both very successful in terms of winning a lot of matchups. I believe Reno Mage fell by the wayside just a little bit in the later weeks as it picked up a couple of crushing losses in certain spots, but nonetheless, Pavel has continued to believe in it and believe in it so much that he's just going to queue it up straight away here and now.
I've been seeing it work. I'm a believer. I think that there are key tools that you need in order to shut down big minions, but that's just kind of how it works. Like, that's why you have the key tools in the deck, is to shut down key minions.
Absolutely.
When those tools show up, I feel like you are at a much bigger slate of power than you normally would be.
Yep. Yalla mentioned on Twitter that he had been feeling under the weather this week, which is why he's wrapped up nice and warm for his games on stream, as we were speculating about yesterday. So if he's not feeling 100%, continuing to play very well is all the more impressive.
Had the one slip up yesterday where he was still attempting to play around mind control tech, missed the mark by a health.
Yep.
Outside of that, looked clean to me.
Does Pavel just have himself a full tea set? I respect that.
I must consider.
Where do you see this full tea set? Did you see it?
Well, so yesterday he was drinking out of what looked to be a very dainty china cup. And then just then he was pouring out of an actual legitimate, what looked like china teapot into something. So
he strikes me as a full tea set kind of guy.
Putting 2 and 2 together, yeah.
You have a full tea set?
I do.
The end is coming!
Snap, Doomsayer.
What else? It's not the worst news for Jarla, but it's not good.
Certainly not good news when the Mage has the follow-up to back this up as well. Yeah, and he clears the board with the Doomsayer and is then able to curve out. That's when things get scary.
Step 1 is this, and not the best choices offered. I'm looking at Magic Trick, I'm looking at Mystery Choice. What is the value to a Bluff Secret? Can Mirror Image block something tricky?
I mean, a Mystery Choice here is basically a babbling book, right? So Pavel just picks that every time.
It's just a 3-mana Babbling Book. Babbling Book coming back, by the way. If you missed the announcement on the patch, you can check out the announcement at playhearthstone.com/blog.
Yep, Babbling Book and Flame Waker returning for Mage specifically to the format. Whole bunch of wild cards. Cards that have been rotated out of the game are coming back in. Several neutrals and 2 class cards for each class.
Much more scared about Flame Waker.
Flame Waker is a spoopy boy for sure. I told you he was going to pick it.
Well, the other 3 were just kind of bad.
It's just a Babbling Book gamer.
I just noticed that the die in that art for the Volpera Scoundrel has a Hearthstone symbol.
Oh yeah, me too. I just noticed that about 5 seconds after you noticed it. And this is the problem, right? 2-3 on board, just then immediately contests the 4-3 as well. And now there's the Iron Beak Owl follow-up even. that can deal with the reborn effect coming out from the Psychopomp.
Yeah, still a couple more tools I think that Pavel's going to need here, but he is doing a great job at containing so far.
Absolutely. The snowball is just not occurring just yet for Yalla, which you really want to be making waves, pushing damage. Like, a lot of priests will get salty in this matchup because they had Reno on 6, and that was problematic for them. I think if you're in the position where you have the chance to set up a board that potentially beats Reno on 6, that's when the matchup has gone pretty well for you. It's when stuff like this happens that you feel like you're struggling, when they just check your minions one by one, turn by turn.
Yeah, seriously, like this is a hefty hand for Pavel right now. Jarla finds a Northshire Cleric. I would say that that card is paramount in this matchup.
Absolutely. It's why the Circle of Healing was not used earlier to protect the injured Blade Master. Jarla knew he was giving up his Blade Master to the ping. He said potentially have Psychopomp to bring this back anyway, plus that Circle of Healing is just super high value with the best card in my deck, Northshire Cleric.
A lot of Light Warden situations where it can threaten as well.
Yep. As soon as you get one board to stick, you find a Wild Pyromancer to go with that Circle of Healing. Baby, you got a stew going.
Speaking of Light Warden. Well, that's a huge draw.
That was a new cadence for that line to come from you, Admirable.
Well,
haven't heard that one before.
It's such a gentle, huge draw is the thing, right? Like, it feels so nominal. It's like, oh, the Mage polymorph. That's what mages do. It's like, yeah, kinda, yeah. But
felt like that needed a whelp instead of a well at the start to really hammer it home.
oh, I like the exclamation whelp. I was like, what does a whelp have to do with anything?
Yeah, I want you to Leroy the
Oh.
audience. So they get 2 whelps.
Whelp, whelp. I was just thinking a completely different polymorph effect. I was like, there's nothing that makes a whelp. Yep, start building up that that Light Warden.
Got you, friend.
So for Pavel now, we're starting to enter the game of do I die territory, and so the question mark is going to be the Pocket Galaxy or Silence, Chain Freezes, Siamat. Siamat's looking awfully weak in this spot.
Yep.
And Jarla, I think, loading up the board for something like Blizzard, where if that were to come down, the Northshire Cleric's going to pick up a heap of cards.
Right. Pavel may be more interested in Frost Nova for that reason, but it is the cheaper resource. It's a thing he can use for tempo swings in the later stages of the game.
Yeah, I think this turn is about weighing up the Galaxy and what it means.
Ouch, I think is what it means.
Yeah, you're only taking 8 on the other side if there's no inner fire buff.
Yeah.
15's about that territory where if you're at 15 going into post-Galaxy, like, I imagine you're pretty comfortable.
Yeah, Inner Fire is a lot of damage here. Extra Arms adds a lot of damage here. Pyromancer plus Spell adds a lot of damage here. I think that's a lot to take to commit nothing to board.
It's just kind of how Luna's Pocket Galaxy works, right?
Yeah, certainly now since the nerf it is.
Pavel says it's too much. Not willing to risk it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with him.
Big Sunwalker.
Ooh.
Would have dealt him 13 and left him at 10 had he gone with Galaxy.
I wonder.
14, excuse me.
So many ways to go about sequencing this turn from Yalla as well. I was just sat in silence for a second. Like, does he want a one heal first to look for a Pyromancer? Does he want to Inner Fire for the clean trade and just forget about additional outs? Which is the way he's choosing to go about it.
Is someone injured?
I think for Pavel, the thought on this Siamat was how it follows up. with this Reno the Relicologist.
Circle first. Says he's going to use both of them anyway, so he's using the cheaper one first for maximum flexibility.
All right, well, Pavel's got to start hitting some panic buttons. Something's got to give.
Yalla's going to get frozen over multiple turns now, and his objective is just going to be to not get flame struck or renoed on the opposing side during any of those freeze turns. So he has to continue to manipulate his board state to play around those options through this Blizzard and through this Frost Nova that are going to be coming down.
It's making it look so tough for Pavel's side.
Interesting.
I'm just not seeing anything that's very appealing.
Cartoot Defender does almost nothing in this spot because of what the healing does to the Light Warden. Would be ridiculously vulnerable to silence anyway.
So if you played Cartoot Defender, you would be using 2 Ray of Frost?
2 Ray of Frost, yeah.
Well, I don't know what he was hunting for here. That ain't it.
Checkmate. Well done.
Whatever he was searching for, he certainly didn't find it. Yalla did. Pretty slow opening for him. Boston had the answers early, had the Doomsayer, had the tempo to follow up the Doomsayer, took care of an injured Blade Master, polymorphed the Armet, had just about anything that you can want in the early game to be able to contest Priest, but I think Yalla's resource management was extremely strong. He was very, very threatening while making sure that he wasn't completely all in any given position. So I think he navigated it very, very nicely, and I think a deserved winner in that spot.
So Pavel, I think looking at that turn with the Siamat versus the Galaxy, the Siamat can help set up the Reno the Relicologist sometimes, and I think that the hand read is what was tough there for Pavel. With Jarla hanging on to Northshire Clerics, and also because he's drawn them late, I think Pavel's hand read is these cards have been in hand for a long time. They're very likely to be buffs on minions. And if that's going to be the case, this Luna's Pocket Galaxy is going to result in me dying this turn.
Yes.
And so his plan was just stave off the pressure, hope that Jarla doesn't commit to a buff there, and then follow up with the big AoE damage. And instead it was Northshire Clerics and Circle healing.
Yeah, I think it was fine. Like, you certainly can't give your opponent's hand credit for being exactly Cleric Circle, right? Like, that's the absolute nightmare in just about any scenario. Pavel had to find a way to turn a Blizzard, a Frost Nova, and a Reno the Relicologist, and a Tortolan Pilgrimist into a board clear. Which meant, over multiple turns, he needed to soften up the health on the board so that those cards come together in combination to create a full board clear.
Yeah.
I think that's what he was trying to execute. It just didn't pay out for him because Priest, good deck.
And also part of my consideration against the Circle healing as well was that he didn't see the injured Blade Master get Circle. So those cards that Jarla had during that time, I think he's partially eliminated that possibility. And so just further kind of commits to that, build tension, soften the board, AoE it. Like, I think a lot of his lines are leading him towards that way. When you look at the Luna's Pocket Galaxy, like, he would have been paid off and things would have worked.
Yeah.
I think it was too dangerous of a call given the situation. Very weird circumstance, like I was talking about in Game 1. Sometimes you do the right thing and get the wrong outcome because of it.
Yeah, it's very much the case, and it's very much a thing that's magnified when you play against decks with as many strong options as Priest has. Like, if decks only have 1 or 2 really powerful things they do, like Dino Tamer Bran or whatever, like, that can be very, very simple to play around.
Yeah.
It's like, just don't die on turn 7. When they have so many angles of attack like Priest does, you can't play around everything. You just have to pick a hand that you beat a lot of the time.
Yep, I think he picked it pretty darn well when I sit down and think about it as well. Going to a quick break. When we come back, though, we're jumping back into this match between Jarla and Pavel. We got 6 matches up today, so stay tuned. Plenty of Hearthstone to be played.
Good enough. Don't have to do it my way, just find a way that works. ETC does recover from that one ropey turn in it. Wait, he needs to play the weapons project. He's just dead.
If he didn't play the weapons project, the Hunter Ace can just go Fireball, Zephyrus, Fireball. Viper got the Blast Shield. Viper realizes that he just made a huge error here. Bomb!
Bomb! Second bomb!
Oh no, all the things are green.
Third bomb!
Third bomb!
That was like low-key, super good.
Everything worked out about as perfectly as possible.
What is Tice doing there? He drew a smiley face on an orange.
My real name is Jaromír Vyskočil, my in-game name is Jarla, and I'm playing for Team Nordawind. When I got the email about that I'm in Grandmasters, I was really happy because I have been in competitive Hearthstone for 2 years and few months, and this is something special, competing against the best players in Europe. I like control decks, and I always play really slow. Some people can hate that I really often end up roping the turn. Sometimes I also overthink stuff, so it sometimes could affect my decision in the end. But yeah, I'm mostly slow and control player. My hobbies outside of Hearthstone, I enjoy running, I enjoy playing football or ice hockey with friends. My goal for Grandmasters is probably avoid relegation, but I would like to win as well.
Hello everyone, I'm Pavel. I didn't think too much about the username. I just wanted something simple and recognizable, so I thought that my name is perfect because I like my name. I'm looking forward to play and compete against one of the best players in the world. Most of them are my friends. I'm excited about the opportunity to qualify for the global finals. I wouldn't call myself a unique player. I just think that everyone can achieve good results if you work hard and play a lot of Hearthstone. My favorite memory of Hearthstone Esports is definitely when I won a World Championship in 2016 and just took a trophy. I was just overwhelmed. One of the things that I like outside of Hearthstone gaming is to go on the nature trips, for example, go hiking or do a picnic or something. It feels really good to be in the Grandmaster League and be alongside with one of the best players in the world. I'm still a really good player. I'm looking forward to playing Grandmaster and show everyone there's no any other player who is better than me.
Welcome back to Hearthstone Grandmasters for Europe. We are on our final day of the regular season. The bonus match that's in play, Superlative Sunday, as I've chosen to call it today. I'm Nathan, that's Admiral Zamora, joined by Simon Welch. And right now, Jarla boasts a 1-0 lead over Pavel, where we're heading into a Shaman versus Mage matchup now. Pavel going back to the Mage.
Yeah, I think this matchup is actually super interesting because I think it's one of the matchups where Luna's Pocket Galaxy can actually still have a huge impact. Even though it's much slower now, it's still just about quick enough to line up against the point where Shaman like really turns up the heat against you a lot of the time. And I think it does have a big crux in the way that Mage plays the matchup. Because if you just try and play card for card, value for value, Shaman's going to destroy you. Shaman's going to destroy every deck in the game. But potentially what you are looking for is a big tempo swing later on where you can just go Luna's Pocket Galaxy earlier on, and then you go Luna, you Alex them, you clear their board with Reno, you play a Kalikos, you say go, right? And that's just too much stuff for them to be able to counter in one go.
Yeah.
But there is still a danger that you get run over in the early game. So I think step one, secure the early game, make sure you don't get beaten up by 15, 20 plus damage early on, and then step two, try and set up one of those big swing turns later on.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that exactly. My biggest struggles as Shaman versus Mage have been they fight for board into Reno the Relicologist. Like, it has been a nightmare when that has taken place. Oh, look at that. A Reno the Relicologist. I expected it this time because I talked about it before it got here.
And the best way that Shaman has to counter that in the early game is very similar to how they attack Druid in the early game. Is to try and land that big mutate on a Mogu Flesh Shaper early on and pull that total health in play outside of that 10 range.
Secondarily, you can lead with a pair of Evil Totems. Oh my gosh, the Barista gets drawn as well. Ooh, I'm pretty fearful for Jarla this game.
Yep.
And he just has no way to know this. Pavel's hand is getting so good.
Your wish is my suggestion.
That right there is the hand of a Reno Mage player.
Oh, really?
What?
Just kind of surprising that it's Earthshock instead of Backstab.
Oh, sure. He has one available.
Yeah, but isn't Backstab just better? It kills it.
Yeah.
Maybe Zephyrus knows that it's going to be a 0-1 with no effect. Haha, take up a board space, dummy. Oh, that's exactly what it's thinking, I bet.
I think it's just thinking these cards cost 1.
Interesting.
Well, if your goal is to kill the Evil Totem, then Flame Imp and the Power Word Shield aren't doing that.
Nope.
Spider Tank, draw a card.
Yalla now can protect this Evil Totem. It would cost him a ton of quest completion to do so, though.
Yeah, not interested in that. Could roll a totem to protect it.
That's fair. 25% of the time, he's in business. That's such an incredibly slow start to the matchup, though.
I think with Shutterwalk already in hand, that's not necessarily something you mind. Like, I think that you can fight, like, the toe-to-toe, giving up a lot of stuff along the way, and just find yourself playing the Shutterwalk, refilling, and having another go at it.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's the point I laid out, is that if the Mage does try play card for card, honestly, with the Shaman, they are going to get outvalued at some point. They really do have to go for those big swing turns.
And that's really where my fear is for Jarla in this game, is because you can account for Reno, be like, okay, this was going to happen sometimes, I get to fight back. Reno into Barista is like, you better take the tempo back.
Yep. Ooh, the Titanic Lackey roll as well is massive for Yalla.
Says the quest progress is important. I don't disagree.
Yep, it was a possible outcome. It was slightly less likely than rolling the Stoneclaw totem, but it does progress his quest significantly as well. So I think all things considered,
The future is ours.
very successful turn from Yalla.
Luna not exactly a welcome sight.
Sandstorm Goblin is pretty solid this turn from Yalla.
It looks real good.
But there does not look like any way he is going to be making a board that is competitive against Reno on turn 6.
Double time.
So he's going to have to deal with that.
Double
He's going to have to play the long game.
This. You get to keep a Sandstorm.
Yeah, sure.
Well, hot dog. That's a great play. I hate giving up Sandstorms.
Doesn't overload for the following turn, so he's able to Witchwood and play either a Lackey or the Sludge Slurper that he draws if he wants to go for that, but he might be concerned with doubling up on that Witchwood Piper over the coming turns anyway. Just to make sure he stays stocked on value. This is that tough call here from Yalla. So many things going on here. Like, does he want to throw away non-value generating battle cries like the Sandstorm and the Mind Control tech in order to get maximum value out of the Witchwood Piper? If he plays the Sandstorm, he overloads anyway, so he can't even hero power Witchwood Piper on the following turn. He was also thinking about, do I try and make my opponent Reno here if he has it? If so, which minions do I throw into the boards to make him pull that Reno out of his hand?
Yeah, I will be curious if there is a board that Jarla can make that will not prompt Reno the Relicologist? I'm actually not sure that there is. Like, if he totems and passes or does nothing and passes, I still think Reno the Relicologist is coming down.
Okay.
Like, maybe a Doomsayer from a Faceless Lackey, you don't Reno the Relicologist that, but even still, you get a 4-6 in play versus nothing, you probably still do.
Engaging TC-130. Mental dislocator.
I can tell you that board certainly gets the Reno.
It's just something about that theme that gets me excited. Ooh, a Sludge Slurper drawn. So now the Piper's pulling Novice Engineers and Cable Rats?
Yes. And a potential Sandstorm Elemental still.
Yeah. Very different.
What to do?
Oh, Questing Explorer as well.
Oh,
You don't want that one.
Oh, why'd you bring that up? You know what happens when casters talk about cards, Sottle.
Ah, we talked about all of them. It's fine.
But you talked about the one that was the thing that's bad.
I'll just say Evil Cable Rat again and it'll be fine. See?
Well, it's not surprising to me. I mean, you said it. It's not luck if you say it.
Bazarano, extra Star Whip, High Mountain Ice Room for Mana Spice coming right up.
Yeah. That is dangerous for Jarla. It's like, well, I'm gonna take $1 million. I'm quite curious about that trade. I would have smashed face. I think this is Pavel's opportunity to get very aggressive. Flame Strike and Reno the Relicologist in hand already. Like, what's that Piper doing? Guess it evolves sometimes. Pavel looking quite focused / concerned.
Well, that Sludge Slurper being played from the position in hand that it was played is an interesting piece of information from Pavel because it means that he has far less complete information on what those other two cards are and the Novice and the Evil Cable Rat. Because he would have certainly assigned one of those as being a Sludge Slurper up until that point.
There is little time. I wonder.
Starts to more actively bring Sandstorm Elemental into your head.
Maybe.
Because that's the one that actually does stuff.
Maybe, yeah.
You belong to the bomb now.
Well,
Yeah, this is lined up just about perfectly for Pavel.
I will say if that card was a thought in his head, the trade makes a ton more sense to me because you're looking for a contain the board into Luna's Pocket Galaxy. So it's very possible in hindsight that Pavel was thinking specifically about what draws in my deck get more powerful if I contain the board.
Right.
That's exactly the one.
I mean, I think the problem with going very aggressive there is like, okay, it looks great, right? Like you have the board, you push damage face, they play more minions, you blow it all up, you push face, they play more minions, you blow it all up, you push face, they die. A good player isn't going to do that against you. Like a good player is going to understand the situation because they know you have a Reno in your hand. So they're not just going to start to, you know, create board tension and contest you. They're going to switch to playing the control game and they're going to use Rush Lackeys and Kobold Lackeys that you know they've drawn because they've just played a Witchwood Piper to just start fighting back against the board. So I think like Pavel knows that if he tries to push out and be aggressive here, that Yalla can kind of counter that very easily because Quest Shaman is a deck that slips quite well back into the control role when it needs to. So I think long game planning for the Pocket Galaxy does just make more sense in Pavel's position.
5 more minutes.
Just summon 0 attack.
Unlucky.
Well, two of it happens immediately. It just is always directed at face.
Sure.
Dark future.
Oh!
Okay, let's evolve something else then.
Just launches in face. He's like,
Wait. That one already had 5 health.
he's like, well, if you're just gonna give me the big effect.
But that one already had 5 health, Admiral.
Yeah, but it's also got 5 attack.
Ah, you make a good point.
Yeah, you remember that thing I said about pushing damage?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I see Pavel's point, but your opponent has to be able to fight through 2 Reno the Relicologist. Like, that's just not how the game works sometimes. Like, they gotta have the goods. So I kind of listen to your point about that Shaman's gonna slip back well into the control role. Imagine trying to control a late game Mage.
All right, I'm imagining it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think if Pavel would have taken this line like full steam ahead, that Jarla can respond to it, but he's got to spend the rest of his stuff, man. I've watched a ton of APX Void, and APX Void plays like almost exclusively Mage, and he plays it extremely well. That guy gets aggressive, and he ends games. I think that Pavel has strong control game here. There's no doubt about that. I think he's got a lot of ways to win, and same for Jarla in this spot. But I think when you get 2 Renos, you start hitting. Because if your board gets cleared twice in a row, you just take like 16 damage in that meantime. That's a lot.
I think if he went face in that position instead of killing the 3-3, the outcome of the game to this point would be almost identical, except Pavel would have dealt 4 extra damage, which doesn't make you wrong because he would have dealt 4 extra damage, but I don't think it would have had a big impact on what happened from that point onwards.
We agree to disagree. It's just a very different game. Here's the line we're at now.
I hope you like my invention.
They both just have so much stuff to do. Like, Jarla has to be becoming concerned with a chain of strong battle cries that leave Pavel mana on the backside.
Yep.
You have to start becoming concerned about your board space as well. Like, if Frost Nova plus one of those hits, what are you going to do?
Yep.
Of course it's the right way.
The answer is cry.
Just bursts into tears.
Yep. This board being full is very, very terrifying for Yalla, and I don't know whether I agree with that last minion coming down.
Well,
the problem is 9 cards in hand, so he would have had 10. The play wasn't made.
let's go ahead and blow this up. And a pair of Conjurer's Callings. Say Power of Creation. I'm very worried.
Yeah, these are the big swing turns I was referring to. These are the things that really pay off for your opponent. Or, sorry, pay off for you against your opponent, I should say. That was a weird phrase.
So does that mean Jarla needs to transition this into a much more aggressive plan? Like, just try to find a way to start ending this?
Well, so it's kind of influenced by his hand, where like he's rolled so many lackeys and hit 0 spell lackeys up to this point, I believe, which is like a big influence in how well you can play the control game. Because suddenly, if you're rolling a bunch of you know, hexes and earthquakes and whatever else off ethereal lackeys, which are about 1 in 11 each time. Then you can sit back and say, all right, I'll hex your Caligos, I'll deal with your Alexstrasza, I'll earthquake your big board when you play 5 or 6 minions in the same turn for 1 mana with Luna. Like, whatever happens, I'm ready to deal with it. And because Jarla's rolled so many lackeys and just hasn't found those options, he is going to struggle to deal with just this bomb chain now from Pavel. Can't quite fit in that Wasp. It's an ugly looking missile launcher.
Yep.
It's an ugly looking Conjurer's Calling.
Is it? Oh, you meant for Jarla.
For Yalla, yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, this is preposterous.
Conveniently, it has lined up in the way that the Caligos can't pick up a value trade first.
Ah, so was it an ugly missile launcher then?
Yeah. It's actually pretty reasonable for Yalla now that I look at it more.
I think it's the rest of what's going to happen that is not very reasonable. This is... Oh my. That... Soddle? Soddle?
There was a new law passed in 2018. We allow it.
I'm upset. It's very unfair. Notice that Rito said we're going to have some fun. Not everyone's going to have some fun.
Yeah. Pavel takes the board clear, does lose his 10 drop for the Conjurer's Callings though.
Thinking about mind control tech in this spot, which is why he's shy to develop more.
He's also thinking about
Ping.
the amount of minions that he has left in his deck at this point. Like, those Conjurer's Calling will pay off at some point. I think I did like it there on the 10 drop, but I think for Pavel, that thing I was talking about where he just didn't get to pick apart the board first and then Conjurer's Calling afterward was presenting him with some misery. You are right, he did miss 1 damage with the ping. That part is indisputable.
Yeah, the further development, I think there's a pretty strong reason to not develop. Like, if your board is even across, sure, go ahead and play in a new mind control tech with 4 minions. It's the 5 minion point that you absolutely need to avoid against Quest Shaman. When you have 2 5/12 taunts in play, that is not something I'm willing to ship over to the other side.
My claws. That
Look what it prompts as a result.
those little
Sting like a bee.
Oh, now here come the spell lackeys. That did not go well.
I think it's going to continue to go that way as well.
5/5 summoned, got destroyed by being bounced back to a full hand. He had a pretty full hand to begin with, so he missed out on a lot of value from card draw and lackey generators anyway. Didn't hit Payda on the Evolve either.
winds of the south.
What did I say about these Conjurer's Callings getting paid off eventually?
You said it was never going to happen, and it was impossible.
Oh, it's weird. It's not how I remember it, funnily enough.
Well, funny enough, that's not how you said it. I was totally lying.
Isn't memory a strange thing, Admirable?
I was just thinking I was pretty strange. I just deliberately lied about what you said, even though it's on camera like a minute ago. Oh, you know I'll get excited about that one. Love me some Reckless Rocketeer off Conjurer's Calling.
I mean, you love you some Reckless Rocketeer in your deck if you can get away with it.
I have... You know, once upon a time, I was challenged to win with Control Warrior with 2 Reckless Rocketeers. And I think with Bloodsworn Mercenary, I might just pick it back up again. It is surprisingly effective. Nobody expects Reckless Rocketeer. And it doesn't give over whelps like Reno does, so you're free to just play it.
Welp.
How many times can that get bog sloshered?
all right, we've got a plan. We've got a plan.
Well, there's Wasp, Bog Slosher, and now Life Drinker. And the Life Drinker is the important part of the equation because it's actually restoring health. Like,
Yes.
as far as burst is concerned, Pavel doesn't have a ton of that. He's just got a lot of board, and it's pretty much going to stay that way. So I think for Jarla, he needs to go hunting here for a turn of defense. That brings him to a point where he goes, okay, maybe I can offset that now.
Right. So he played for Lackey first without the hero power.
I think it's pure mana consideration.
What is the plan?
I think now I'm looking at Hex and Wasp a minion. That buys you hopefully enough time in the face of Pavel's development, and then start looking for the hunt on damage. And so the idea here isn't just you Hex and you Wasp a minion, it's that you kill some stuff.
But I want this Wasp to go face Admirable.
Well, then you're Life Drinkering. And you're bogging it back. I didn't think that was happening. No. It's too much on board is all.
Agreed. For additional concerns, the damage Stegatron is a mech, right? And there's still a Ziliax remaining in Pavel's deck, so that thing has to go down if you're looking for any kind of damage plan.
Soddle.
Okay. The new 2018 Conjurer's Calling Act did not cover re-rolling your damage Stegatron. That, in fact, is illegal.
Soddle.
Come on!
Like, the game's interesting. It's very interesting. But poor Yalla's getting obliterated by the outcomes.
Yeah, Yalla kind of got scammed this game.
Like, Pavel had game in this. I feel like these outcomes are taking something away from Pavel, too. He has a chance to execute this beautiful, wondrous Mage deck. And 5 12s.
For just a second, I was confused as to why Witchwood Piper only drew 1 minion. That's just not how Witchwood Piper works in my head.
I seriously thought when you said for just, you were going to say, for justice, play this Doomsayer. And pay the price for these 5 12s.
That would have been a much better call, and I wish I had said that.
What to do?
Well, another Wasp, but another board.
Yeah.
The plan was there. It's not quick enough.
This freaking 5-12, like, it takes away his Earthquake out more than anything else.
There's little time.
And with Blizzard, board tension has a 0% chance of working, so I think it's time to get the Sandstorms rolling. You've got to start softening the board. Make hand space. Ooh. Frost Shock could be really important.
The Frost Shock did not take the Plague of Murlocs, which was interesting to me as well.
Oh, I see. I thought the Frost Shock was the play for sure. It
Okay.
just buys you so much like health and momentum here. Like, the board is weakened. Pavel is afraid of the bounce on Sandstorms, I think. So, good news and bad news. The good news is, I think Jarla piloted this in a pretty excellent way, where you're trying to set up, multiple turns of pressure onto the board to soften it and then capitalize. The bad news is that Pavel's got another Conjurer's Calling and a Blizzard to shut down that auxiliary setup.
Right. I would have bet my house on another damage Stegatron. I'd be a homeless man right now.
If the conditional just would have been a minion that's appeared from a random outcome so far, you would have won that one, though. Second Tending Torn. Yep, Lackey first.
I wonder.
You're overloaded. He's trying to find a way to not have to get Earthquake.
With one look in the box, this is 1 in 11 for that Earthquake. Does find the Plague of Murlocs, though.
Yeah, no more Sandstorms, though.
No more Sandstorms. And that was my Plague of Murlocs in my head for the previous turn, right? Like, yeah,
You have 10.
Frost Shock really shut it down. But if you were able to hold, find something to do, Plague of Murloc, Sandstorm Elemental, like, maybe you find the board swing. All right, decent outcome for Yalla. No War Leaders, no 4/4s.
Those are the big ones.
There's little time.
My kingdom for 4 hungry crabs.
You belong to the bomb now. Double time.
Oh, that's clever.
Yalla is just piece by piece, step by step, starting to claw his way back into this. Pavel does not have the damage to get himself over the line just yet, but never mind.
Wow.
The Ray of Frost pickup.
So Life Drinker still in hand, Wasp still in hand. Jarla does potentially have counter pressure, but it's just the Antonidas is shutting this down so hard. It's just way too much. Yeah, I'd say even with just like the perfect outcome here, that the 2 fireballs is so much pressure.
Walking Fountain from the Mogu Flesh Shaper. Can't do it if you hear a power first. You have to get exactly 1 Evolve Lackey from this 1 Sludge Slurper. She did get, but it was off the second one. So now can a 9-drop make anything happen?
Oh, because if you hit the button, it evolves
It's
twice.
not a Walking Fountain anymore.
Gotcha.
What to do?
So now he can go for Rush 9-drop to kill the Antonidas, which is actually a 20% outcome.
Well, he can kill the Antonidas with Mogu and Kobold.
Sure.
Mortals are so squishy.
I think you take the high roll though, right? This makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking anything I can get in that spot to try and bring it back. Jarla just got pushed into a tough spot. The TLDR for me is when your opponent plays Reno the Relicologist and Barista, they have an enormous amount of control over the momentum, pretty much at the stage of their choosing. And so Pavel chose to take that to the distance because he knows if it goes the distance, whose deck is more powerful at the end? The one generating Lackeys or the one generating 1-mana Caligoses and Alexstraszas? Because I can tell you the answer is not the Lackeys.
Yep, and that's just kind of how the matchup goes. If you don't get beaten up early, if you're able to stabilize, which Pavel absolutely was with the Reno the Relicologist, plural, Reno the Relicologists, then you get to the position in the game where you just do things that are too strong for them to deal with. Yeah. And, it's what I was very careful to say at the start. It's like, if you just go, okay, I'm going to spend 9 on my Alexstrasza, now I'm going to spend 10 on my Kalikos, like, Shaman will beat that. They are just so much more fluid and powerful in what they can do with the double battle cries and staying so high on value, and ethereal lackeys just make a mess of you as soon as decent spells start getting found, which they will over time. If you can do a lot of things in one go, which Pavel was starting to do in those later turns, you start to see how it becomes impossible. Like that one turn where Pavel didn't even do anything close to all he could have done, right? Where he had the Kaligos in play, he went Power of Creation, he chose not to use a Conjurer's Calling on a 10-drop, he missed damage with the ping. Like, he could have done so much more. Part of that was deliberate to play around mind control tech and other outs from the opponent, and part of that was just running out of time. But you start to see the level of power that Mage deck can put out in one turn that Shaman just can't fight back against.
Yeah, you have to have like pretty deliberate ways to end the game towards the end, and that requires early pressure with Shaman.
Yep.
If you don't have the early pressure, you don't get the end game damage push quite the same. It's not like a control warrior that's trying to continue to run you out of resources. It's a Mage deck that at some point starts playing some huge stuff and starts punching.
But you saw even in that position, Yalla wasn't super far away from setting up a damage plan with the Life Drinker and the Weaponized Wasp that he had.
No.
It's just that on both of the turns where maybe that was an option, there was a freaking 5/12 mech in play. So there's no way you can go without seeing your opponent's hand to go for a damage plan when they have a 5/12 mech in play that they just slap their Ziliax on. Like, he has to...
Big deal. You would lose him instantaneously.
Immediately and devastatingly. Like, you have to respect that 5/12. It really did change an enormous amount about how that mid-game played out.
Yeah. Pavel didn't have the Ziliax, though. I wonder what would happen if he just purely disrespected, like, I'm just not going to beat that one.
I mean, that's what I said, like, without seeing the opponent's hand. Like, if you're a really dedicated stream sniper, then yeah, sure, maybe you could make that play. But, like, in that spot, no, you're just conceding the game to Ziliax if you go outright damage in that position.
I'd be lying if I said I hadn't done it before. Works occasionally.
Oh, you've done it before and you'll do it again, Admirable.
Oh, indeed I will.
Ignore their outs and deal damage to them is Admirable 101.
How do you think I got here?
Who did you deal the damage to?
Well, it was mostly ignoring the outs.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that makes
It's
sense.
like, fired, yeah, right. They're like, hey, just kind of stuck around.
Just have a pile of like damaged other casters and production members that you've just beaten and battered and clawed through to get to this point.
No, it was the ignore the outs part I was going for.
I mean, my way's funnier.
It's more violent.
Yeah. It's also probably not something that you would want to be associated with.
Yeah,
either.
I'm also just kind of a wimp, too. Like,
Hey, really?
yeah.
You were offering to fight Orange in Twitch chat last night.
Well, I spelled it F-I-T-E.
Ah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
That's how you know.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, good
Game
point.
3 is coming up. We were waiting on players to make a decision, taking a quick break from the long match that we played. So now we're rolling it into game number 3. It's going to be Priest for Pavel, and it's going to be back on the Shaman for Jarla. So Pavel has found himself in game 3 with a favorable matchup. But Jarla's got a pretty good-looking opener. But Pavel's got a pretty good-looking opener.
Yes, indeed. Northshire Cleric option for Power Shield right now, or hold for the flexibility between Tolvir and Extra Arms, which is the options I prefer.
Of course it's the right way.
And payoff.
Yalla, of course, immediately contests. Even with the Armet draw, this is too juicy. Let's face down the board.
Yeah, Jarla's reaction is appropriate for the situation. It is bad.
Yes.
So now the best way to contest. Well, you can evolve twice. Is that good enough?
Average mutate here adds +1 attack to that and nothing else. So I would
attack.
imagine you hold it.
Doesn't do nothing.
Nope.
Pavel's options are risk the Northshire at 2 health to gain development, or to start drawing cards, and perhaps risk not having enough in play.
I'm leaning Tolvir Power Word Shield this turn. I'm just not quite convinced with myself where that Power Word Shield goes. I think the answer is Northshire Cleric.
My instinct says Northshire Cleric because if that one lives, you're delighted.
Yes. And also, if you do want to take the trade and deny the Weaponized Wasp, without the Power Word Shield on the Northshire Cleric, you're leaving it at 2, which then gives Lackey Generator into Kobold Lackey as an out again on the following turn.
Random double Sandstorm hand.
Sure, yeah, it works too.
Huh. Those are outcomes, though.
They are.
I think when you leave things up to outcomes, that's the kind of play territory where I'm typically willing to risk. For whatever reason, cards in the deck I'm not as willing to risk against as I am from like outcomes that are in the deck. Does that make sense?
I mean, the words you said make sense, yes. Whether I agree with the philosophy or not is a different...
I'm not asking you to agree
Right.
with the philosophy. In
Yeah.
fact, I'm quite inviting you to debate it.
Okay.
But like the idea that a Kobold Lackey shows up is very different to me than the idea that 2 Sandstorm shows up, and I can't really say why.
Sure. Despite, there being many, many ways for the lackeys to get generated and cards that tutor cards that draw lackeys into the hand and then just being 2 Sandstorms. But I understand it. I understand what you're saying, for sure.
Yeah.
Your question,
Perspective.
does it make sense? Yes. You formed coherent sentences.
Little time.
Fight me.
Was there a GH in that? Or...
I'll let you decide.
Okay.
Yeah, Yalla just had nothing to do. I think if you want to risk the Lackey here, like, you are pretty much giving up on the spot. And so, in his spot, I would tend to, I think, favor max development. It's Pavel's turn 4, so the heal is probably the most awkward it's going to be.
Yep. Four into 5 is really not massively attractive either.
Is 3/3 into 5 not that good? A 3/3 body into 5?
That is above average for a 5-drop, believe it or not.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Like if you, depending on how you want to round, like you can say that is average, but it's like 3.7, 4.6 or something like that.
Yeah, I would median is what I would do.
Yeah, right. It's like a Yeti for 5 is about what you get.
Okay. Average minion size. Down to 26 and a third health.
Yeah.
I fear that's going to happen one day. Going to use nickels and dimes to count lethal. It's an abacus with a bunch of coins on it.
If you'll just bear with us while we calculate this lethal to the 9th decimal place.
Very risk appropriate. However, I think Yalla might be in that state where when you're seeing Pavel not draw cards and instead just fight for board, his hand starts to become quite scary when you picture what that's like. I can't find anything that fights back well. Like, I'm thinking, if you roll a taunt totem, maybe you're in business?
Yeah, maybe.
Just gotta keep isolating the attack, right?
That is kind of depressing. I'm with you. I just hate everything this turn.
It's just not a good turn.
No.
Like, I think he's trying to make the most of it as well as he should. He's gonna fight back with the Lackey Wasp on the following.
Yeah, he's playing with fire when it comes to Nephset Ritualist and so on, and potentially more buffs on that Northshire Cleric.
You would have seen the Nephset, though.
That is true, yeah. It's rare you will see a player have an opportunity to kill a Northshire Cleric and turn it down. But I think that turn was so ugly for Yalla that he may have been in the right.
I wonder.
So what is Pavel thinking this means now? I imagine Sandstorm's got to be on his mind.
Sure.
And your opponent's pretty much just offering sacrifices to your board. Can you topsy the 5/7?
Yeah, you definitely can. So player made a good amount against Shamans, but primarily with Light Wardens a lot of the time. Like when they get huge amounts of attack but are down on low HP, just flip it around, start building it up again. So, you know, if you get a 4 health Light Warden, just make it a 4 attack Light Warden instead with like 12, 16 health, so it doesn't get double lackeyed from hand.
He's just lined up the Wasp too. Wow.
Full clear.
Yeah, Jarla takes his first lead. That's a big deal.
So hard to account for all the options that Shaman has to fight back against you.
I see a dark future.
But the pressure is not over from Pavel's side by any means.
Hey, I got you, friend.
Still several problems that need solving from Yalla. Only 7 in play right now. Only 5 in play right now.
I'm looking at a Hero Power and an Ethereal with 4 mana left over.
Yes. Like I said, it's about 1 in 11 for any specific spell off a Discover. So when you factor in Earthshock, Hex, Plague of Murlocs, Earthquake, all being very reasonable things to pick up here, that's a lot of success rate.
I'm thinking Plague of Murlocs looks awfully good right now.
I wonder.
You're going to have more minions in play. Your stuff's 1/1s.
Nothing.
Hex is awfully good. How about 2 of them?
Ooh. They call this the Radu.
That is a major outcome.
Start cutting into this 1-9 as best you can, especially since, as Admirable established, you have a pretty good read on a no Nephicet Ritualist hand. Pavel is playing both Pyromancers, which is very much something to consider here as well. Yalla doesn't care.
I think it's about hand reads for Jarla. What would you have seen so far? Ah, yeah, wouldn't have seen those. Oh, that makes some sense. Light Warden, Circle of Healing, Topsy the Light Warden.
Well, there is sometimes a Northshire Cleric in his Psychopomp as well, which was something I was considering with that Circle of Healing.
That is a huge draw.
We're hitting all kinds of new registers for the huge draws today. Got the Whisper Tones now as well.
Well, it's such a tense match. Like, they've been so deliberate, and things haven't been like crashing and booming and hacking and hammering. It's been like, it has like a chess feel to it right now, where they're just slowly maneuvering pieces into place to try to get that advantage.
Right.
Double pump Azarano, extra Star Whip, high mountain ice room for mana spice coming right up.
It's also not exactly a packed crowd with you and I here. You know, it just doesn't have the same excitement and overwhelmingness to it.
What are you talking about? There's a full bustling production team around us, Admirable.
Always little time.
True story. Yeah, Pavel's got to be super nervous after that one. I think that he is in bad shape given his hand.
I really like this, by the way, taking out the one attack minion and just taking the value trade, because he knows he doesn't lose to like 4/7s hitting him right now. He loses to that minion being buffed up enormously and adding to the damage that the 4/7s already represent. That's a pretty smart play from Yalla.
Yeah, if Pavel's reaction to this was not any indication of how he feels right now.
This is why I still wanted to have a Circle of Healing. I was considering whether you Psychopomped for the Northshire Cleric the first time and then played the Blade Master in the Circle of Healing on the follow-up to start drawing cards, which I guess Pavel's way, he plays the minions first, they stay in play, and then if he gets the Cleric, he has minions in play to heal, so he draws a similar amount of expected cards. But I thought Pavel was in a rough position where he'd already faced down the full board swing, and he was suffering, where that Circle of Healing really did need to draw a lot of cards for him, in my mind.
And it did not, and I have the utmost of bad news for Pavel.
Injured?
He's dead?
He is super dead.
Okay. I believe a GG may have just been typed as it was, and then the concede goes over. Yalla picks up another victory to add to his impressive collection. Luckily for Pavel, the work was already done for him earlier in the day because Boston was not able to pick up the win to put a lot of pressure on him. But I believe that loss now means that he is secured, if that's the right word, secured fourth, and Casey is secured in third, which means that Pavel will go into the playoffs in the disadvantageous position of being in fourth and getting that free loss, essentially, in the playoffs bracket.
And for Jarla, a 10-4 record on the season for him. And you know, Fino had said that he wasn't impressed with too many players play, but Jarla has, for me, certainly been one of the ones that is at the top of the list this season.
I had that exact same thought when Fino said that. I 100% agree with his philosophy and sentiment of no one plays well, and I think you can even extend that to the Hunter Aces and so on, where they play the best out of everyone. But do they play the game at like a solved, incredible, optimal level? No, of course they don't, because that's impossible. Like, Hearthstone has way too many variables to be able to play at that level. Like, it's beyond human boundaries. So I totally get down with that philosophy. But the one name I kind of wanted to be included on that list from Fino that wasn't was Yalla, because I think he's played spectacularly well this season.
And I agree. Let's go ahead and talk to him himself. Yalla, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hello, guys.
Hello, and congratulations on this win. A very impressive record and a very impressive set in this one as well. Talk to me about this match and some of the spots you found interesting. Game 3 actually was quite peculiar to me, and so I'm curious what exactly was going through your head as that one progressed.
Yeah, first of all, we always delete game 2. I played super badly. I don't know what happened. I just couldn't see the lines. But about the game 3, he started with a pretty good opener, but I think he tunnel visioned on drawing cards from cleric, and he wasn't like developing anything too strong. And somehow I came back on board, and then with the Barista top deck, that was just so much value for me. And yeah, it was just basically over after that.
If you don't mind, like because of that statement, I do want to ask you what you think you should have done differently in game 2 if you were so disappointed with it.
I think I should pick the Plague of Murlocs from the first spell lucky for sure, just to deal with his board. And I think I was supposed to go like more aggressively.
Okay.
I ended up being like few damage off in the end, and I think I was supposed to just wasp his face at some point and kind of ignore the board and try to go for the kill. Also, I'm not sure about the Shadow Walk turn because it was.
Do we still have Yalla? We appear to have some technical difficulties. Yeah, and he's gone. And he's gone.
He was about to mention ignoring the Ziliax. I could feel it in my bones.
Yeah, that's sorry. Like I was very rudely almost interrupting him there in a couple of positions because I was about to say, "Oh, Yalla, are you back? Do you hear us again? Are you with us?"
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So I don't know how far you got down that explanation, but just to clarify a couple of things. The spell lackey where you took the Frost Shock, is that the one where you're saying you should have taken the Plague of Murlocs?
The one before.
The one before,
I
okay,
think.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And then...
also, I was supposed to go like more aggressively, just to wasp his face and stuff like that. Because I was few damage off in the end, it got kind of awkward. I think I was just supposed to smog him down, and yeah. I kind of started trading, but his board was like so much better than mine, and it was just bad.
Well, yep, not going to follow up on a question of why it was just bad then, because I think you recognized the point of that one. Talk to me now about the season in total and your experience through Grandmasters. You went from Season 1, where you had a fairly middling finish, to now top of the standings in the division, where Hunter Ace can tie your record now, but he cannot best you, which means that currently you stand alone, the top of all of Europe.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about this season. Main reason I like this season more than the season before is the multiple class format. Last year I had like 60% win rate over the entire year, but in Specialist my win rate was like 30% this year, so I wasn't very happy about that. But yeah, I'm going strong now, and hopefully I can keep it up for playoffs and Bucharest and maybe BlizzCon if I can make it.
Do you have any big prep plans for Bucharest, a la the Fino crew that's going to be getting together in Greece?
I don't know. Probably just I will talk to my teammates, Hunter Ace, Freddy, and some other people. But I don't have any big plans like them.
Well, all right, Jarla, you stand atop again at 10-4, first place, and only Hunter Ace can tie you on this one. Congratulations on a wonderful season, and we'll see you next week for playoffs.
Thank you. See you next